Welcome back to r/AholeTax, where today we will only read one story, but it is an absolute roller coaster of emotions, so I suggest to watch until the very end. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the story. This story is titled, "Do You Know Who I Am?" and "You Are Fired," until they realized their terrible mistake. Firstly, this did not happen to me. I was with the person when they received a phone call about this issue, then he explained it all to me. He's not on Reddit, so I am sharing it. It is priceless. All names changed to protect personal and company identities. Listed buildings, important to the story. In the UK, there's a system for preserving ancient and important buildings. If a building has historical importance, it is known as a listed building, and the rules about how it is developed / maintained / improved are very strict. I need to be vague about the work involved, otherwise it is too easy to identify the parties involved. My friend David is skilled in a very niche area of construction. He repairs and renovates buildings using a very old construction method that has not been common for several centuries. All his work is on conservation projects and listed buildings. Work was required on a Grade 1 listed property. The overall building work was being done by a main contractor called ACC Ltd. One part of the work is very specialized. The contractor's managers did not know anyone who did it, so the architect gave them a list of qualified people. The contractors chose my friend because he had the earliest availability. 5 days into the work, the owner of ACC Ltd, the main contractor company, arrived on site. He was throwing his weight around and being a noisy gobshite. David's words. David was just doing his job and ignored him. By the way guys, is it just me or is gobshite a really British insult? Anyway, noisy gobshite told one of his carpenters to get him a coffee. The carpenter disappeared, noisy gobshite continued wandering and gobbing off about delays costing him a fortune. 15 minutes after the carpenter had disappeared, the noisy gobshite asked my friend a question. Noisy gobshite:
"Where's the damn chippy with my coffee?"
Chippy, carpenter. David: "Don't know."
"Go and find out."
"I'm only here for this job," pointing to the walls. "I don't work for ACC Ltd.
"I don't give a damn whether you're an employee or a subcontractor. You still work for me. Now go and find my damn coffee."
"Well, firstly, I don't appreciate being talked to like that, and secondly, my contract with you is to do these walls, nothing more. I am definitely not a gopher." Noisy gobshite:
"Oh, you don't appreciate being talked to like that, do you? Which subcontractor do you work for?"
"None. I'm self-employed. It is just me."
"A damn day laborer? And you've got the nerve to talk to me like that? Do you know who I am?"
"Yep."
"Well, you're fired. Get off the effing site now."
"Okay, put it in writing."
"F off. Just get off the effing site."
David pulled his phone out and started recording. "Okay, I will go. I just want proof you told me to go." Noisy gobshite grabbed David's hand holding the phone and screamed into the phone. Noisy gobshite:
"Get off the site, you damn idiot. You're fired. If you're still here in 10 minutes, I will have you effing thrown out."
"Cool, no problem." He picked up all his kit and walked away. As he was leaving the contractor's site, manager passed him, ironically with a coffee for the boss, and with a smile said, site manager: "You're leaving early, Dave? Bloody part-timers." Joking. "No, your boss just fired me. Our contract is ended. Sorry, mate." Site manager: No, let me sort this out. Wait, please wait." David left. The site manager was losing his crap because he knew something that noisy gobshite did not. Only 7 people in the UK are qualified to do the work. They all have a waiting list, and David had been the only one available. By the time he was home, he had 12 missed calls. That was Thursday, 2 working days missed so far. He said he will go back, but only if he gets paid for the extra days and has a genuine apology in person from the boss. I met my friend when he was getting a call from the site manager saying the boss apologizes but is out of the country, so cannot apologize F to F. Which, by the way, I assume means face to face. David also told me he phoned the other specialists to warn them, but they had all been phoned on Friday, begging them to do the job. Nobody took the work, they are all booked solid. David also phoned the architect to warn him. Situations like this, some unscrupulous contractors try to botch the job and fake the work. David is going to stick to his guns, pay for all missed days plus face-to-face apology. He is sure he will get it. I've said I will pay anything to watch the face-to-face apology. Update to the story, site manager phoned to say he was told by Noisy Gobshite to threaten legal action if David does not finish the job. Site manager was very embarrassed and apologetic. David reminded him he did not leave and has proof that he was fired. Site manager phoned again to say Noisy Gobshite will apologize face to face on Friday. Can David start tomorrow? David said no. Following the threat of legal action, the conditions are different. Condition number 1, face-to-face apology before work restarts. Number 2, added pay for wasted days. Number 3, payment of full contract value upfront before work starts. Number 4, all must happen by Thursday. That is the last day he can start and still expect to finish before his next booking. If he also works the weekends, he has just enough time. I asked him why he is not charging a huge extra amount for the guy being such a wanker, and he said it does not look good if you take advantage of companies when they are under time pressure. Not the done thing. It seems that one of my friends is an 18th century gentleman. Update number 2, unfortunately it seems there will be no apology. David has discovered that the site manager was blamed for not making Noisy Gobshite aware of the situation beforehand and was fired. David contacted the operations director for ACC Ltd, Noisy Gobshite's number 2, and informed them that an apology is no longer required as he will not be returning to the job. The ops director apologized for everything and offered to renegotiate the money very generously. David told him that he had only considered going back to the job as a personal favor to the original site manager. Since he is not there, he feels no obligation to return. Ops director said he will get back to David but did not say why. I asked him why he did not say, give him his job back or I won't come back. David said Noisy Gobshite is too petty and weak to be told what to do by a craftsman. It will have to be the company's idea for the site manager to come back. If I tell them to bring him back, it won't happen. David says the site manager is great at his job but is only 4 years from retirement, so it is not easy to find a job at 61. I have decided I like David even more than I did 3 days ago. Update number 3, it is 2 AM here, we have just got back from the pub. David got a call while we were out from the sacked site manager. David updated the architect on the situation this afternoon. The architect contacted the sacked site manager to tell him about a company who need a site manager. The sacked site manager phoned David just before 9 PM. I had to sit through the phone call, only hearing one side. I must have looked childishly excited like I had gotten an arse full of sparrows. And then David filled me in. The site manager rang to thank him and to find out his favorite drink so he can send him a bottle. He has not gotten the new job yet, but he is seeing them on Friday. Apparently, the architect's recommendation carries some weight, so he is optimistic. David refused at first. I did not get you a job, the architect did. The site manager said, but you set all this crap in motion and told the architect that I had been fired. Because of you, I never need to deal with that obnoxious pillock ever again. David was not specific about who the obnoxious pillock was, we will have to guess. David said his drink is Carthew Gold Reserve. He said he will accept a bottle only if A, the site manager gets the new job, and B, if the site manager will come over and drink the Carthew with David. It looks like the handsome scribe who did the enormously difficult time-consuming job of skillfully writing this saga down on Reddit is not included in the whiskey consumption. As David poetically put it, piss off knobhead, you can buy your own damn drink. All good news hopefully, except that nobody gets to see that tosspot Noisy Gobshite eat crap when he has to apologize. I was so looking forward to that. Additional info, David and the fired site manager know each other outside of work. Each are members of charity organizations in the same town. 2 different groups, but they work together a lot. Site manager is in Rotary Club and David is in Round Table. I don't think he's a knight, but you never know. Update number 4, operations director for ACC Ltd phoned David to suggest that they take the site manager back and generously renegotiate the money. David says they have missed the boat, there's no way he can finish the job on his own before he starts his next job. There is an absolute minimum of 11 days work left if everything goes without a hitch. David's next job starts 4th November, only 10 days left if he works both weekends. Too late, I wish I could be a fly on the wall when noisy gobshite is told. The most common question, many are asking what David does. If I said what it was, it is so identifying, I might as well give you his real name and his address. Sorry. The reason there are few of them is it takes 5 years to become just competent and at least 9 years to be a master craftsman. The jobs need at least one master present when the work is done. Update number 5. Bad news. The fired site manager did not get the other job. He met the new company, but they are not taking him on. The reasons are not clear. David is meeting him on Sunday to discuss it. I can tell David feels like crap about it, even though it is not his fault. Site manager says he's going to take action for unfair dismissal. I thought this was going to be win-win-win, but I suppose life is not like that. Update number 6. News about the sacked site manager. The situation is not as bad as we first thought. I think we misunderstood what happened on Friday. David talked to him yesterday. The company he saw on Friday are not employing him in the normal way. That part was correct. But they have offered him a fixed-term contract for 18 months on a distribution center build. It is not perfect, but on the bright side, it is slightly better paid than ACC. It is only 18 months, but that is better than nothing. There's also the chance that the new company might extend the contract if another project comes in. Update 7. 7? Seriously? David has heard that they are getting a Bulgarian to come over to do the job. David was grinning when he told me. He thinks he knows what will happen. There is a similar but different technique that was used on some 19th century buildings in Sofia. David thinks that the guy will use that technique. It looks similar, but two very important materials are different. David has decided to wait. He plans to let the Bulgarian finish the job and get paid. Then David is going to suggest to the planning department and the client that they check the two components. Unless the Bulgarian knows the 17th century English method, he will have used the wrong materials. It would mean ripping it out and starting again. They are incredibly strict with this type of work. I shouldn't want this so much, but I really hope this happens. I'm a petty man. Further information, many people are asking when David will know if the Bulgarian has done the job right. David might know fairly soon since there are very few suppliers of one of the materials. If the Bulgarian contacts them, David will be told. David's words, "It is a tiny incestuous part of the industry and they gossip like old women." Correction, we all gossip like old women. If he does not go there, David is leaving it alone until he is told that the work is finished and the Bulgarian is paid. He does not want to put the guy's money at risk. In David's words, "I don't want the Bulgarian to drag his ass over here and go home empty-handed just because I cannot wait to drop silly bollocks in the crap. The man's got a living to earn. I will wait." Just in case of confusion, silly bollocks is the same person as noisy gobshite. It should take the Bulgarian about 3 weeks to finish the job unless he works weekends. David knows plenty of people on site and a few at ACC head office, so he will know when the job is finished. So I've got to sit on my hands for 3 to 4 weeks and pretend I am not an excited 7-year-old girl pissing her pants about Christmas coming. Update number 8. David has been told that the Bulgarian got straight to it and started work. He's had materials delivered, but from an ordinary building supplier. The stuff he needs to do the job properly is too bulky for him to bring with him, even if they sell it in Bulgaria. He has not ordered it from the UK supplier. There are 3, but only one has enough for this job because they got it in for David. So unless it is coming by road and ferry, he's not using the right materials. David would not allow it to go unreported even if he was not annoyed about noisy gobshite. He's got a genuine passion for looking after all these buildings he works on, and he is a purist when it comes to historical accuracy. So now I have to hold my water for 3 to 4 weeks. David says that if he's using more modern materials, he might finish sooner. 3 weeks is the time it takes if you stay in the 17th century. I have turned into a bit of a weirdo about this job. When I phoned David earlier on a pretext, he realized I was after info again. David, F me, do you want me to fit a body cam so you can see and hear everything as it happens? Me, if it is not too much trouble and you can link me into your phone calls, that would be nice. David, after laughing, you damn knob cheese. Is it okay if I cover the lens when I'm crapping and shagging my wife? Me, personally, I don't do those two things at the same time, but whatever floats your boat. David, you're telling me you do them separately? When are you shagging my wife? Me, right after she has cleaned all the crap off the sheets from doing you. Some of us are fuzzy. David, piss off, you're an uptight clean freak. And hangs up. No goodbye, no see you soon. English manners are not what they used to be. I know it does not look like it, but honestly, I do have a life, I promise. And ripe stars, in case you were wondering, the story is very far from over. There are like 3 or 4 more updates and we have a lot more to read. So in case you have enjoyed the video until here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video. Thank you so much in advance, your support means the world to me. Update to the "Do you know who I am" backfires on business owners story. I was told that the reason I could not add any more to the original post was due to character limits, so new thread. When I first started writing this, I would have never believed I was going to type. Update number 9, lots of news. The Bulgarian finished the job and went home 2 weeks ago, according to the people who met him. Stefan, the Bulgarian, was a good guy and a very hard worker. He did 12-hour days and weekends so he could cut the cost of staying in the UK. Based on what he learned about Stefan, David is happy that he waited until Stefan got paid before he reported the work. David was fairly sure that Stefan was not doing the job correctly. He had checked the 3 firms who are the only UK suppliers of the most obscure material involved in the job, and none said that they had had an order for the site. Of course, it was possible that Stefan imported it, but nobody on site had seen an overseas material order. So, as planned, David contacted the local authority planning department, the client and the architect, and an organization called Historic England. He explained his concerns and the easiest, least intrusive way of testing. Then he waited for them to look into it. It only took a couple of days, but I can honestly say that I've never been so anxious or felt so invested in something that is none of my business. First report came from the architect: wrong method used. Wrong method using the wrong materials. He had used a 19th century Bulgarian technique, not the 17th century English that is demanded. The architect was enormously pissed off. David said he's never heard the architect use bad language before, but this phone call was blue. Apparently noisy gobshite is called that ignorant effing cockwomble by the architect. David asked me what a cockwomble is. I had no idea. Suggestions welcome. The architect said he was going to contact the local authority because he doesn't want them to think this is anything to do with him. Most of the rest came to David second or third hand. He knows some of the staff from ACC. I asked if it was difficult to get to them to tell him anything. He said they cannot pick the phone up fast enough. The local authority planning officers visited the site and inspected the work. They told the contractor that the work was entirely wrong and must be cleared and done properly. And then it got interesting. The inspectors had a look around the site. They found an issue. I cannot be specific about this because it would be too easy to identify the buildings involved. The contractor has destroyed a part of the building. There was an internal feature that did not look particularly important but is part of the roof structure. They removed it and put in a much better modern support, but they are not allowed to. Neither the project manager or the new site manager or the staff knew the importance. Guess who ordered it to be replaced? Cheap quick option instead of repaired slow expensive option. Of course it was noisy gobshite. It's a criminal offense to destroy anything on this type of property, jail time type of crime. Even if they don't go to jail, it's a massive fine. So now everybody in that company is pointing fingers at each other and claiming no responsibility. Noisy Gobshite has claimed that he did not give the order to take out the internal parts of the roof structure. The project manager has email evidence that he did though. On Tuesday 19th, the client ordered all of the contractor's staff off of the site. They are having everything examined. It is almost certain they are firing the contractor. They have issued instructions for bids from new contractors. They also sue the contractor for the cost of repairing and replacing everything they have done wrong. The architect's estimate was £800,000. The local authority planning department wrote to the contractor outlining what they've done wrong and advising them of their plans to inspect and the possibility of prosecution. According to the staff, Noisy Gobshite disappeared to the lawyers on the day the letter arrived. David had 3 different people from ACC phone him within an hour when the news of the letter circulated around the staff. So now we are waiting for a few things. Number 1, the client's inspection. If that confirms that ACC have damaged the site, then the client has the right to fire the contractor. ACC doesn't get paid and they have a massive repair bill. Number 2, local authority inspection by conservation experts. If they have destroyed features in the property, the local authority will prosecute ACC as a company and the person who ordered it. David is very unhappy because the internal structure that has been destroyed cannot be replaced. In his words, that wood has been sitting there doing its job for 400 years until that damn jizz stain comes into the picture. Then it is gone and that's it, never again. He seems genuinely sad. I am betting that Noisy Gobshite is wishing he had got his own coffee on that day last month. Correction and apology, the letter to ACC, not their real name, did not threaten to prosecute, it only made them aware of the planning department's intention to send a specialist to inspect the building and in particular the area affected by the change. Apparently, prosecution, if it happens, takes forever. My sincere apologies for misleading you all. Like everyone else, I was too keen to pick up my pitchfork and believe the worst. A combination of wishful thinking and Chinese whispers meant that by the time the story got to David, it was much more serious and advanced. Noisy Gobshite might actually be prosecuted, but if it happens, it is more likely to be 6 months than 6 days. That is the second correction since I started. I promise to try to be a bit more accurate on future updates. My fault, not David's. David warned me. Everything that goes in your ears does not have to spill straight out of your mouth. You're too keen to feed the masses. They might think you are farting rainbows right now, but that won't last if you make a bollocks of the info. He is right as usual, as damn usual, as annoyingly effin' usual. Requested info. A few people have asked what happened to the original site manager who was fired, but I could not answer until tonight. We, me, David, site manager and 2 others, met in the pub. He definitely has the new job, subject to fidelity insurance checks which he will pass, and he starts on 9th February. He got paid off in lieu of notice by ACC. It is standard practice for firing. His contract gave 3 months notice and he was owed 12 holiday/vacation days, so they paid him just over 3.5 months pay in one lump. He also gets to keep the car until March. He said, "When he fired me I was shaking like a damn dog, but the wife reminded me that I could take my pension early and how much I hate that company and especially that dodgy pillock. Then architect called me about the distribution center job and I stopped worrying." He has got Christmas off and he is starting the new job on a slightly higher salary. The only downside is that the job is only guaranteed for 18 months. There is the strong possibility that the company will keep him after that if they have work. It is just not definite. Initially he was planning to take Noisy Gobshite to an industrial tribunal for unfair dismissal. Now he cannot because he's not going to suffer financially. He said, "Obviously I'm glad I'm not losing money, but I was looking forward to beating that wazok in court." And by the way guys, lots of new British insults in this story that I've never heard before. Anyway, right now he's using the extra time to build a better sleigh and some reindeer. Yep, a sleigh it is to go on the back of a truck. His group walk around the area dressed as elves and snowmen with Father Christmas on the sleigh, playing Christmas carols at window rattling volume, collecting donations for a charity. I have been roped into it many times. He brought David the whiskey he promised. David said he should not, but site manager said, "Yorkshiremen keep their word, even to a shower of soft shandy sipping southerners like you lot. Besides, I'm not risking breaking this lucky streak." Even the whiskey was half price. Both me and David pointed at him simultaneously and said, "A real Yorkshire man." For the unaware, Yorkshire folk have a reputation for 2 things: very straight talking and being careful with their money. So after bollocking him for suggesting that I was a southerner, we left the pub and went to site manager's garage so we could drink the whiskey and admire his work on the sleigh. If I tell you all how good Cardew Gold Reserve tastes, will they send me some freebies? By the way, I am Welsh, born near I won't even try to pronounce that, but born near some place in Wales. I am waffling now because I am full of whiskey. It is 1 AM, so it is past my bedtime. Bye for now. Update number 10 to the "Do you know who I am? Backfires on business owner" story. Update number 10. I think there might be some karmic justice on its way. Noisy Gobshite has been interviewed under caution. It doesn't mean that they are definitely taking legal action against him, but it means that they are preparing for the possibility. They also did the same with the project manager, and they are going to do it with the fired site manager next week. The site manager is confident that he has nothing to worry about. The decision to remove the roof support sections was made after he was fired. He said he was confident that if he had been there at the time of the illegal alteration, the noisy gobshite would have tried to pass responsibility. Or as site manager put it, that cowardly slope-shouldered turd would have shed all over me to save his own skin. Can turds crap? Luckily, the project manager has proof in the form of an email that Noisy Gobshite ordered the work. Noisy Gobshite tried to persuade/bribe him not to pass it on to the people investigating this for the local authority planning department. When that didn't work, he tried to threaten him. That backfired because not only did the project manager ignore the threats, but he told the investigators that Noisy Gobshite told him to lose the email. I have a lawyer friend who tells me that interfering with a witness and destruction of evidence are offenses in themselves. Noisy Gobshite won't stop digging himself a deeper hole. I am going to be so disappointed if he gets away without legal consequences. He is definitely suffering though. The big news of the week: Noisy Gobshite has been fired. David announced it yesterday, Saturday, after he was told by no less than 4 different employees of ACC. He said they could not wait to tell him. Then the conversation went like this. Me, how is that possible? How does the owner get fired? Did he walk up to a mirror and say, "You are as much use as Anne Frank's drum kit, you're fired"? By the way guys, pretty insensitive joke if you ask me. Anyway, David, nope. You know he inherited the business from his dad and uncle. Me, yep. David, you know his brother and cousin own a slice each. Me, yep. David, well, their combined share is over 50%, so they fired him. According to Louise, the accounts manager, they are pissing their pants. They were happy to leave Noisy Gobshite in charge as long as the money rolled in, but now their golden goose looks very sick. They are terrified that losing this contract and the penalties and fines will finish the business, so they are appealing to the client/property owner to take ACC back to finish the contract. Part of that involves convincing the building owner that Noisy Gobshite will never have anything to do with the company. Obviously, they are throwing Noisy Gobshite under the bus. Louise said there was screaming and threats of violence from Noisy Gobshite when they fired him. He had to be escorted off the premises. He's been phoning employees, asking questions, and seems surprised when people don't want to help him. According to Louise, he actually thinks the employees like him and want to be loyal to him. She said the man is in cloud cuckoo land. Me, he's going to be so pissed off. I wish I could see that numpty's face as it was happening. David, it's nothing that the scrote doesn't deserve. There's something else, but I cannot tell you because I promised the person who told me that I wouldn't tell anyone yet. Me, you damn tease. How important is it? David, it's huge. Life-changing for the subject. I wish I could tell you because it nearly gave me a hard-on. Me, Jesus Christ. It must be big if it can get that ugly appendage to do anything except hang there like the last chicken in the shop. Your wife must have been pleased. David, what a drama. She thinks I should tell her this thing I was told in confidence. She thinks I should be able to tell her everything because we are married. I explained it is not my secret to share. I was hoping I would get /appreciate you have integrity, dear husband, but no, I've got an angry missus who thinks I'm a knobhead. Louise and her job title have been changed to protect the innocent. It seems like it will be a couple of months before he can give me this awesome news, so I don't want any of you holding your breath. The client/building owner has done their inspection. 2 areas are unacceptable as expected. The damaged area and the part that David should have done but was done by Stefan, they are very unhappy. When listed buildings are damaged, the local authority normally assumes it is the owner taking shortcuts, but in this case the owner is a crusty old institution dedicated to preserving important buildings. They are not used to being accused of anything shady, so they did not like having to prove they had nothing to do with the damage to the building. David said it looks like they have written off ACC because they have issued a type of request for tenders to several other contractors who specialize in conservation. He then spilled a lot of jargon I neither understood or remembered. Me, in simple English, they have asked a few companies to quote a price for the job. David, that's a very simplistic way of describing it, but I don't have the time or the crayons to explain it to you. So okay, let's say they are asking for prices for the job. Condescending twat. So I was hoping this story would build up to a crescendo with Noisy Gobshite suffering something horrible, but it just sort of fizzled out with a whimper while we wait to see what legal action is going to be taken. Real life is inconveniently slow. And then another update, which goes like this. Hi, this is Mark's wife. The idiot asked me to apologize to the internet for his silence. He was hurt in a car accident on 7th January. We are sure he's going to make a full recovery, but he won't be online for a while. I said it is just Reddit, but he is an obsessive lunatic about not letting people down, so I promised I would add Reddit to the list. So here I am telling all the people that he doesn't know why he has not finished telling them something they are probably not reading anyway. Question answered number 1. What happened to Mark? He was stationary in his car in a queue to leave the motorway when a large lorry drove straight into the back of him. His car was crushed between that lorry and the lorry in front of Mark. He has several broken bones, nose and left orbital and cheekbone, left radius and ulna, forearm, 4 bones in left hand, right tibia and fibula, lower leg, 4 ribs, one of which punctured his left lung. There is some damage to the central vision of his left eye, which we hope is temporary. He has some damage to the tendons in his right hand, which needs more surgery, lots of cuts, total of 112 stitches. He looks like a mess, but there's a chance that he might recover without any permanent damage. If it was me, I would not cope, but he has always been as tough as nails for as long as I have known him. When I first got to the hospital and he was lying there covered in blood and wires and tubes, and he could not speak properly, I went to pieces. He had me laughing within minutes. He's always been good at knowing the right thing to say. The thing that is bothering him most right now is not being able to use his hands. Next, when will he update this story? It could be a while. I could ask the friend that he has called David for an update, but I definitely cannot tell a story like Mark can. Obviously I'm biased, but I think Mark is the funniest man I've ever met. When he and David get started, I laugh so much I can hardly breathe. For now, I've told him to forget about everything except getting well, but if it starts to bother him, I've told him I will do some secretary roleplay and he can dictate the story to me. I know he will finish it. He always finishes what he starts. I wish I had a 10th of his self-discipline. Number 3, a few have asked if they can send him cards or gifts or money to help with medical bills or lost earnings. Thank you so much for offering, but it is not necessary. We are in the UK, so thankfully healthcare is free. He does not want anyone's money. If anyone feels the need to do something, there is a charity that we have supported for a long time called Macmillan Cancer Support. Update 23rd May, Mark's wife again. I'm sorry about ignoring you all for so long. There is an update. And by the way guys, the next update, aka the last update, is quite sad, so if you don't want to hear that, then I suggest you shut off the video now. This username belonged to my husband Mark. He wrote the story about his friend David and a business owner he called Noisy Gobshite. Mark had been updating the story until he was involved in a car accident in January. At that time he asked me to let everyone know that he was injured and he would update the story when he had recovered. Unfortunately, just over a week after my last comment, Mark passed away. Everyone thought he was recovering, but without warning he suddenly became unconscious and died very quickly. The staff tried everything they could to save him, but he had suffered a ruptured aorta. They said it had probably been damaged during the accident and is not uncommon in car crashes. And by the way guys, in case you're wondering, this aorta, or however it is pronounced, is the largest artery you have in your body, and it starts near your heart. I am sorry I did not update this sooner, but to be honest I completely forgot about this website. It was only when I came back to read Mark's words again that I saw how many people were waiting for Mark to finish the story. I don't know how many people will see this update, but if you know anyone who was waiting for Mark to reply, would you please pass this news to them? Thank you. Thank you to the hundreds of people who left get well messages for Mark. I'm so sorry that I ignored you all for so long, but I've been dazed for the last 3 months. Mark would most definitely have disapproved of me leaving everyone in limbo and would have told me off. Many thanks to the people who made donations to the Macmillan Cancer Support, although it seems strange to see money donated in the name of Mostly Gruntled. Because of your posts and messages, most of today has been good crying. Your words have made me think about all of Mark's wonderful qualities and all the reasons I loved him so much. I started writing the update and then abandoned it about 8 times before finally finding some bravery. I'm glad I did it. Thank you again to the moderator for the last little push I needed. It also made me realize that I want to do one more thing that Mark would have wanted. He always finished what he started. I'm going to speak to his friends and find out what has happened. I know some of it already, but I will try to get myself up to date with everyone's outcomes. I warn you in advance, it will not be like Mark's writing, it will just be the facts. I have not gotten an ounce of Mark's flair for telling a story, but it is obvious from the comments that a lot of people were waiting for a conclusion. The plain facts will have to do, please be forgiving. I'm going to speak to the person he called David, who has been an absolute rock for me this year. Hopefully he will be able to tell me everything. I will enter the update as soon as I can. Thank you all so much, you have no idea how much this has helped. Yesterday I was having a better day mainly because of what you all wrote. Today I woke up angry and I cannot shake it. Today is a public holiday in England and I keep thinking about what we would be doing if Mark was here. So now the update to the story. Site manager, he started as planned in the new position on a building project for a distribution center. Mark had already said what site manager and David were unhappy about. Being on a fixed 18-month contract as a self-employed person was a disadvantage compared to being an employee, but that was before the pandemic. After the virus hit, most of the employees were laid off, some were furloughed, but because of the contract the company had to keep paying the site manager in full. What he thought was a bad thing turned out to be his savior. About Noisy Gobshite, the last that David could tell me about him was that he has been forced to divest his share of the business, so he no longer owns a third. He had to sign a personal liability agreement regarding his assets in the event of total liabilities being greater than the value of the company. The way I understand that is that if, for example, the total bills for Noisy Gobshite's mistakes are more than the company can pay, then Noisy Gobshite must pay the extra, even if that means he loses his house. He had to give up his share of the business because they could not keep trading if he was involved. He needs them to keep going to pay the lawyers. He has not been charged with a crime yet, but it is certain that he will. They take a long time investigating and preparing before they charge him. Something to do with needing to be ready to go to court once he is charged. It also came to light that he had a warning for similar but much more minor damage to a listed building in 2011. David has been told that during the investigation some irregularities were discovered by the local authority and were referred to HMRC, the taxman, and Noisy is also being investigated for VAT fraud. One of the earliest comments on Mark's story said, "Expensive cup of coffee, an understatement if I've ever seen one." The big news was going to be about Noisy Gobshite and the sexual assault of one of the PAs in the ACC offices in 2017 and sexual harassment of other staff too. The assault did happen but was not Noisy Gobshite. It was a former finance director. Stories about sexual harassment of female staff have not developed and turned out to be just rumors. In regards to David, financially and work-wise, he's probably one of the few people who were not affected by the virus outbreak because he works on his own and has no social distancing issues. He has continued almost as usual. He said work is easier because, in his words, the usual plonkers are not there to trip on my equipment or stick plank ends into my finished work. Personally, David is not doing so well. Outside of family, David took Mark's death worse than anybody. He tries not to show it in front of me. When he's with me, he's a rock. He has saved me from myself. He's one of 3 people where I feel I can really let go about Mark. Or so I thought. I spoke to David's wife last week and she was so sweet and sympathetic about it, but she had to tell me to hold back a little with David. He looks strong to me, but his wife says it is shattering him. I knew he and Mark were good friends. She says he has taken Mark's death very badly. She says in all their marriage she only saw him cry once when their dog died. She did not see him cry when his parents passed. She says he seems lost now and has cried quite a few times. The worst thing to hear is that the time he cries is after he has been to see me. I feel terrible. It is obvious that he was grieving, but I didn't know I was putting so much on him. I am going to be more careful and stop using him to vent all my pain. I wish she had spoken sooner, or maybe I should have been aware of it instead of being so selfishly focused on my own grief. That's as much as I know about the updates. They are waiting to see what Noisy gets charged with. If he is guilty of damage to the listed buildings, he might go to prison. If he is guilty of VAT fraud, he will almost definitely go to prison. Either way, the fine will be 6 figures. David said he wondered if he would like prison coffee. He's got an evil sense of humor. Everything I try to do in the future is just going to be overwritten with Mark should be here, but he is not. Everything from here until I die is just going to be existence, just breathing and watching the days past. It seems so pointless without Mark. I don't know if I can write anymore. Thank you to everyone who offered their help. You are lovely people. Hold on to the people you love like you might lose them tomorrow. Don't do what I did and assume you can carry on in your own little heavenly bubble forever. Some careless idiot can snuff out everything you love in the blink of an eye, leaving you with nothing ahead of you. Goodbye. And Ripe stars, unfortunately, this is the sad ending of the story and there have been no further updates. So all I can say is, guys, if you have a person that you love dearly, please go to them and give them a hug. As the author of the story, or in this case his wife, correctly said, everything can be over very quickly in the blink of an eye. And guys, unfortunately we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.